the only way to start your day.
Rolling lion.
Kills no game.
That's
Simba na nguruma.
Yes.
Hapati nyama.
Hapati nyama. It's like still waters run deep. That if you are not smart, then you don't get your goal. Yes. Because if the Simba is groomering, it means that it's scaring away the prey. Yes. Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. I love the way the human mind works, because we would imagine that if you're roaring, that you don't have time to open your mouth, right? That rather you don't have time to do the thing with your mouth. But in this case, if you're roaring, you're chasing away the prey.
Is an
according
equivalent
to your
of
interpretation.
it.
Wow.
Is equivalent of it that an antelope hit the announcer if you shout at it more than the hunter. Yes.
Wow.
Which is an advice to the hunter.
The hunter, yeah.
That you shouldn't shout when you are nearing the hideout of the antelope. You need to be discreet. You need to be quiet
and camouflage.
And camouflage. Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it. Yeah.
So this is interesting because a couple of weeks ago, the State of the Nation address was given in Parliament by the President.
Yes.
And thereafter, he's been on quite, this agenda of moving Kenya economically has been on his lips everywhere he's gone over the last 2 weeks. And that we saw that there was the launch of the Mau Summit, Nakuru, that whole stretch of Narok road, and he reiterated that. He was in church yesterday and said it again, that this thing, so we start to believe that this is actually something that he believes. And I believe it was the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Gladys Bosche, said, you know what he has done is that he has given Kenyans the opportunity to dream that these things can actually be. That Kenya can actually be a developed nation, and all of these things that they're doing to put them in place is actually towards that goal. The state of the nation, according to what he's saying, is that to achieve that goal, he has put in the necessary pegs for these things to happen. I'm hazarding a guess here that, Kabando, you don't agree.
Let me start by thanking you very much for inviting me again to Spice. We have missed the space, and I'm very glad to have this opportunity. As I have said before, it's a very reputable channel.
Thank you.
And I bring greetings to those that saw the poster yesterday. Very many of them sending even text now, asking that I pass their greetings individually, but I say hello. It's good that the proverb from South Africa was about a lion. There is also the saying that a tiger doesn't pronounce its tigritude. It just pounces. It just takes action.
Yep.
The big wars that you have seen in the world, whether it's political liberations, whether about economic transformations, are mostly not about words or speeches, are about serious visions that were executed by serious individuals, by icons, actions. In Nairobi, one of the legacies of gallant fight is Uhuru Park and Kalura Forest. Did we see just statements from Professor Angari Maathai and the Greenbelt movement? No, we saw actions. All right? I'm just reading here the life as a leader spokesman from Salim Lone. And when you read through this stuff in the Standard today, you see actions that were done behind the scenes, and then you saw the results at the front. Sometimes even, often, actually, a pronouncement made through the right individuals in order to communicate to that. Now, let me give another example of South Africa and Kenya. Did the Mau Mau just go and make announcements in the trading centers? Did the African National Congress of Oliver Tambo and Mandela go make announcements, or did they go to organize and even went to exiles and even canvas among world leaders in order for them to get the global recognition and the local support to fight against apartheid? Did Jomo Kenyatta give many speeches about Kenyatta International Conference Center, KICC? Did Kibaki give many speeches about the free primary education?
Just did
it was just a statement among the first 100 days, we shall do that. And the next thing we saw is an 8-year-old Kimani Maruge being in a classroom to enjoy the free primary education. Megalomania in politics, where you get obsessed with convincing people, repeating threats and reciting examples, trying to validate yourself, shows inadequacy. And therefore, the State of the Nation address by the president, agreeable to very many people, even those who are in a so-called broad-based government, is that even those who are from northern, I saw people from northern part of the country who are really supporting him, is that it was largely hollow treatise to gratify self and make yourself heard by people, and it is more about the next general election than a government making a government report card of what is being organized. So even when you talk about the Maus, Narok Road and so on, or the extension of SGR, just put it in the budget. Let's see the action on the launch of the project, and let the stakeholders start appreciating it as it is rolling out as a snake to Malamba.
You know, Kabando,
yes.
When you listen to the State of the Nation address and the report card that you talk about, one would say the best person to give you the results of that report card would be the Mwananchi. Because every other policy that is put in place, when you talk about taxation, when you talk about roads being built, when you talk about incentives that are given to anyone, the person who enjoys that is the Mwananchi.
True.
You know? And I've had a lot being discussed in terms of macroeconomy and microeconomy. Big words, fine. And in the macro level, fine. Multinationals are saying, fine, Kenya is headed in the right direction. IMFs are clapping, saying Kenya is doing well. But at the micro, Mwananchi at the grassroots level does not feel it because taxes are high. You know, they're unable to take their sick to hospital. They're unable to afford food on the table. They're unable to take their children to school. And when you look at the State of the Nation address, it is beautiful. But Mwananchi will tell you, because at the end of the day, the policies are implemented by them. But Mwananchi says, apana, those were just stories.
Exactly. The consumer, you know, you can do the promo, but the consumer will give you the feedback. Okay? There's nothing as useful, more useful than getting a report card in a restaurant. Somebody giving you feedback, not just about the tip you give, about I have enjoyed your food, your service is very good. In hospitality industry, the employees and the owners appreciate it more when they get voluntary feedback that what you have offered in terms of cleanliness, in terms of hygiene, in terms of your menu is very good. So that goes a long way, even in making a judgment at the end of the year of the employee of the year award, or even the manager of the year award. And it is happening in every industry. So mid-term, a government should be enjoying more when the consumers, the citizenry, are appreciating voluntarily. But when you find that you have to use money, use security forces to compel people to attend your rallies, when you are mobilizing chiefs in uniform to attend church, wherever you go, you have hundreds in that whole county. All the assistant chiefs and chiefs, the county commissioners and their administrators and the policemen in uniform are mobilized to go to church. It exposes insufficiency. There's something missing that you want to compel. Okay? So, and it should worry us that what has just happened even last week, as you have seen, and what happened even yesterday, I know you may have discussed this before, that we are still mobilizing the holoi polloi, those that are suppressed, those who are going through serious economic challenges to do battle for us. And there isn't an election until 20 months away. It shows that there is a lack of confidence in yourself, in the product that you're offering. If you have to mobilize a whole machinery of state, even those who have never done this, to camp in villages in order to amplify your message, yet you have just given a state of nation unrest. If there are so many media, particularly now you have a diversity of media, mainstream media, social media, people are receiving information about what you have done, but you have to pump it to people. You have to like flash instead of waiting people to hear or watch on the screen. You are splashing it on their face. It's like water. You want somebody to feel that has water in the face by splashing it. It's different. So we are living in different circumstances.
And yet, Kabando, I think you've been quite vocal in terms of what you feel about this. And it is interesting because you come from a position of being a member of parliament previously, where you more or less said many of the same things, but now on an amplified level, that you talk about the thievery and the corruption in government. You talk about the fact that unless those things come to an end, we will not see a clear path or a clear way. Is that the case from where you are today?
Let me say even before, I can give an example. I was privileged to be in the Grad Coalition government, of which I told you I'm reading about this very fascinating story from Raila's spokesman then and a friend, Salim Lone. We used to come as a group, and I remember 3 instances. First is when there was a reconstitution of the EACC, and we defied Moi Kibaki.
Right.
Our leader then was the chairman of the Committee of Legal Affairs, Abdulkadir Mohammed, the senior counsel. We refused to endorse the choice of the Grad Coalition government, and some of us were assistant ministers in that government. Then there was the feasibility study of LAPSET, which was really a rip-off. I remember even Kibaki's nephew now is chairman of KRA, Governor Derito Morezi. We came and they even wrote articles and joined forces with the likes of Dr. Kelemi Mweria and formed like a quartet of parliamentarians opposing that. I think I mentioned this some time ago. There was a time vernacular stations of my community were mobilized to fight those of us in parliament under Uhuru presidency who are supporting Johnny Badi's amendment on VAT. And they were mobilized from Kameme to Inoro and all that. I'm sorry to mention them, to fight us. And it happened the same when we came out to demand for the resignation of Anne Waiguru, now the governor of Kirinyaga, because of the NIS scandal. So, and many other instances, let me not visit there. Though there is a limitation when you are an incumbent, when you are serving within a party and within the system, you cannot say as much as when you are free. So I find myself and other fighting field when you are out of the system. You have inhibitions of and the trappings of power. Ikabeze has his own censorship by way of you are part of the train. You cannot be jumping out. Currently, I think we are very many and people are very many. And why Ruto is being questioned more, perhaps more than any other president, is first of all, himself has never got off the top of the car roof. Since he was elected, he has never sat to work. And I mean to work, to allow even your cabinet to be feeding you. It's like there's no cabinet in Kenya. It is the president speaking about health, about education, about agriculture, about everything. and campaigning and calling his opponents names and fighting even the lowly people, not just his level of people. So in terms of statesmanship and statecraft, it makes people come more and more out because the king is naked and vulnerable. Yeah, so, and it's going to be more. And he's even fighting with children. You see, he's the first president to fight with children.
You know, the Singaporean dream has been told to us. We need to get to develop status, you know. We are working very hard to get there. And as the dream is there and Kenyans are hopeful to get there, there are very many things that need to be handled. It can't be that you're talking about heading to Singapore, yet here we have ghost schools. We have 1.5 billion shillings that is lost. When you read it deeper, you find out it's not actually 1.5. It is 7 billion shillings that would be lost if those who, if the pending bills on these scam would be paid. And we talk about corruption cases in government. You know, you talk about the disrespect of the law of the country, the disregard to the constitution. And one asks the question, how exactly do we have that first world or developed status if we are not fixing the things that are derailing us? If we are the ones who are busy pushing the agenda that is derailing us behind?
One thing that is not being said and should be said is that though this is currently, as we have said, is a Ruto presidency problem, there is also a continuation of the past rot. A lot of individuals, and I dare say this, a lot of individuals who are very dirty in the Uhuru administration have quietly been recruited in the Ruto administration. Some of them in the senior positions, they are appointed in a senior level in the bureaucracy, and very many are being given positions quietly in the state corporations and in the consultancy. People who are very, very inside. People who perpetrated the immediate past regime rot and inertia are within. Now, that complicates our situation because it is an alliance of merchants of impunity that is emerging and that many may not be seeing it directly. It may be dangerous to mention individuals adversely because, you know, will be said we are prejudicing. But I know people who are very influential within the Uhuru administration. Not just those that are being in the cabinet or those who are being recruited to be in the parastatals. Even in the private sector, where Ruto has influence or interest, in order to get the old loot, people would be facing trials in the court for impunity and for corruption between 2013 and 2022 are now comfortable because they are now allied and their cases have been forgiven. Remember the calls for a commission on state capture inquiry. It can't happen because the owners of the criminal enterprise that captured the previous administration. And I say previous administration, I will not go beyond 2013 because give it to him. And Moi Kibaki, even his closest friends, some of them, and I know like 2 of them, died while their cases were still ongoing, cases of corruption, and they were in his cabinet. At least when it came to issue of now you have been caught with your fingers in the cookie jar, Kibaki will lay his hands off and let you face. Even in parliament, we impeached some ministers, not 1, but 2. And actually there was even another 2 others who even resigned between 2008 and 2012. But in this administration, just like in the previous, Ruto, nothing of the kind is happening. And therefore, the claim to go to Singapore. How can you compare Ruto with Lee Kuan Yew? Lee Kuan Yew was a man of integrity. He's a man who sacrificed even his family convenience so that even his own children, he insisted they have to grow in his own private residence. Is a man who would arrest a minister at the airport. Is a man who would insist on the sovereign will and integrity of the institutions. To compare William Ruto and Lee Kuan Yew is actually to insult the intelligence of even a child
Kabando,
who is learning A, B, C, D.
Kabanda, I hear you speak in terms of the continuation of the rot that has existed.
Yeah.
And that points to the fact that we know where the problem is. We know who the problem is. But we choose not to deal with that problem because if we put them closer to us, we are able to continue with the bad manners that has existed over time. That means if Kenya is to be a developed nation, we know exactly what we need to deal with. We just choose not to.
You know, in the end, we also say people get the leaders they deserve. Because those leaders, though they could have manipulated results, were largely supported, and they have had the constitutional mandate to rule, and the institutions of governance, including the judiciary, interrogated the processes. As much as we may disagree with them, they made the jury, was the verdict was by that process that we have put. So what do? It's just to let Kenyans, for instance, yesterday I shared a video of a YouTuber who was sending a message to a certain region in this country and telling them, stop blaming the Bere people for the decisions they made last time. We know the situation of Bere people. We know what has happened. Some people are not explaining that Bele is a very unique area, and that particular Bere North is very unique in terms of by-elections. It is perhaps the only constituency in Kenya that has done 3 by-elections since Multi-Party. And then you are blaming them for maybe making a decision which was more caused by clanism and, of course, the state legislature and the men that were born there. But what are ourselves doing? And what did we do 3 years ago? You know? I know I mentioned last time I came here a term we call mokofio in my community now. Yeah. Mokofio, where you are walking from the village to village, mokofio, stamping your feet as you are rushing to the MCA, to another MCA, the MP, the governor, the president, and you close shop for 2 months in the villages in order to go to receive handouts. You leave your cow without feed, and you don't even milk. You leave your chicken still in the cage because you are chasing handouts from the politician because of campaigns. So it is we cannot blame the constitution. We can blame ourselves, but also sometimes, as we say, people get the leaders they deserve. Our democratic process in terms of the new disposition is still nascent. We are still young. It's only since 2013 we had this constitution being implemented and devolution being implemented. So the call for change may require more than the instrument of governance and the constitutional tools that are provided for us to process our own sovereign will. It may require emergence of new leadership. And that's why people are very excited last year when the Gen Zs came out, and you could hear parents and even grandparents saying, really, our savior will be the young people. There's a very young people that are not coming out in large numbers to vote. A lull before a storm. You know, people should ask, how come young people who want this radical change, who want urgent transformation of the Republic of Kenya, are not rushing in queues to register as voters? It may indicate non-confidence with the electoral process, and that may be dangerous for the country, because eventually it may mean that they are inspired more by what is happening in Guinea-Bissau and in Burkina Faso and in those other countries, which may portend a serious question that is a time bomb in the time to come.
So, we asked the question, Kabando, that, what must be done? And I look at the by-elections that took place last week, which for all intents and purposes served as a litmus test in terms of what was going to happen, a dress rehearsal of the future. That before that, there has been a lot of chest thumping. There has been a lot of resolve to say, okay, this is what we must do. And then there were many questions about why didn't we see a heavy movement even during these by-elections as to what the move would be. Is it possible that there's a silent watching to say, okay, we can see how this game is being played so that we then know what we must do come the next opportunity to make a change? Because for all intents and purposes, in a democratic space, the time where you can make a change, the time where you can actually do something that your collective thought has been putting together all this time is at the ballot in a democratic space. So is that what we're waiting for? Is that what Kenya is waiting for, to say, okay, all the things that we've seen, all the thoughts that have been put together, all the injustices that you imagined would have happened, that the time to right all of that is to take a step forward is at the next election? Is that the time, or is there some in between? What needs to happen?
In fact, let me if we go by elections, the example, the incidences that happened in Malava and Bere North just confirm, even as some of us have said, we accept, it is still a baby step in our democratic growth. But if you go by what happened on the ground, because we have the reports, we have the videos, we have the testimonies, is that IBC will not do an election. Let's Kenyans resign to that. This IBC will not do an election, and I'm not predicting the untoward.
What will they do if they don't do an election?
There will be something that will happen in this country, and I'm sorry to say this. I'm sorry to say that something else will happen to this country because people will not accept what happened in Malava or Bere. Because it was terrorism. People are being smoked from houses. There are many people in hospital. People have just gone quiet. Even the United Opposition that gave a statement, there are many details that have not been exposed. Even the petition that is going to be taken to court today to try to stop what happened in Malava and Bere North to be a verdict that will go for another 2 years, supposedly for people who have been newly elected. Can you imagine, let's say, you are assumed innocent until proven guilty. But you had your own headline here in the Standard, giving the name of a candidate who changed names recently after scamming Kenyatta National Hospital oxygen project nearly 700 million. That is, of course, a question of integrity, which EACC did not object to, which IBC did not object to. But of course, that can be, people can excuse and say we had the Luka cases and many other cases, and therefore even the ICC cases in 2013 of Uhuru and Ruto. But now come to the terrorism in the villages, the open bribery, the ungas, the mattresses, the cash handouts that are all videoed. If we had an IBC with the merit and decency and legitimacy, those candidates would have been voided and they would have been withdrawn as a way of the new IBC making a departure from what we have seen in the past. But remember, it's just as I said, a perpetration. The people who are in government today know where Chris Musando went. They also knew other returning officers who were killed. Nobody talks about those issues. And the restlessness and the uprising, the non-violent, patriotic, gallant demonstrations, the protests you saw in Kenya last year, the abductions and the kidnappings, the killings, has that generation evaporated? It is still in this country. Do you think they are sitting just like that, seeing the election being frauded, seeing a shambolic process by ABC?
And just sitting quiet.
And they are just sitting quiet. And also look at what happened yesterday in Kariobangi North, in the church. These are goons who are being, the easiest thing today in Nairobi today is to hire guns. If I have only 5,000 shillings, I'll have 500 people in the streets because of 100 shillings. The unemployment, the joblessness, has brought despair. And if there's something that is dangerous in a country that has massive number of young people without formal occupations, without any aspirations, is when you have lost hope. You know, when people have hope, even if they are poor, even if they are hungry, they keep with the hope that there will be a tomorrow.
So, Kabalo, if people watch the process, for example, from what you're saying, because it's not possible, it isn't possible that the uprising that we saw, the protesting that we saw in 2024 has just gone dead and buried. That it's not possible that those emotions towards an action in the hearts and minds of Kenyans, in their hundreds of thousands, went to bed and died. Not possible. And if we're seeing that this is being watched and saying, okay, this is where we are as a nation, if I'm to push that a little bit further with you, essentially what you're saying is that when we ask, okay, so what next? What you're essentially saying is that Kenyans are not going to accept this kind of thing anymore. That's the what next.
You know, let me say two things. Number one, on the ground, I am from Nyeri. I'm near Tomotomo. After the Church of the Torch in Kikuyu, the PCA stopped in Tomotomo before proceeding to Chuka. All right? So, I come from that bastion, Omutaratara, the PCA church, from Scotland. And not once, not twice, not thrice, latest being yesterday, goons and the security officers, unleashed by the state, went to tear gas a congregation. The word going on the ground is that President Ruto is fighting the PCA church. And the PCA church is dominantly in that part of the country.
Why would he do that?
Why would he do that? It's only for him who can explain. But the point is that is the word on the ground, that William Ruto is fighting the PCA church. And the PCA church is dominant in a particular part of this country. You can say it is ethnic bigotry or call it even a prejudice, but that is whatever. Otherwise, how would you explain? Which Catholic church have been tear gassed? Which AIC church has been tear gassed? And politicians have been going there. You can't say it's just because Rigathi Gachagua is attending those churches. So the burden of proof that is not fighting the PCA church is on William Ruto. And people should not say that he just hated by his critics like that. You know, Ruto should know that he has a big burden since 2007 post-election violence. And he has been attending churches everywhere, giving millions. And I blame my community, and I blame our people, and I blame, of course, the whole country. I blame ourselves. Because even at certain time, maybe I have supported him when he was the deputy president, when we were there in the Ruto administration. But can the big question be asked today? KAG Church in Kiaba, in Eldoret, is in Ruto's constituency. Has he never found even 5 shillings or 10 shillings to go and rebuild that church where children were burnt alive? Where mothers were burnt alive, where children were being rescued, or they were being raided again and thrown back to the church? I want to have this question and ask it in Spice FM today. Why is William Ruto getting money all his life to go to churches in Nyamira, churches in Nyeri, churches in Taita, but he has never found any 5 shillings? He can give 20 million. He can go give a certain chapel here 100 million. The other day he gave in Ukabani another 50 million in a church, but he has never given 5 shillings to reconstruct a church that was cited internationally as the greatest shame of political intolerance where people are fought. Even when we fought in Moi, when we were in the University of Nairobi and we were working with Wangari Maathai for the mothers, with the mothers of political prisoners at Uhuru Park. We spent months in the bunkers of Osin Kadinduru, hosted by Provost Peter Jenga, the provost of Kadinduru then. The police tried to come nearby, even during Moi time. But to go and fight them in the bunkers, the church was always the sanctuary. What is happening today is what happened in 1994 in Rwanda. You need to read a book by Philip Ngoverechi, the New York Times bestseller. The book titled, "We Wish to Inform You That Tomorrow Will Be Killed Together with Our Families." Yes. Where people in Rwanda were killed inside the church. And we had 1 million people, even as UN and other bodies, still watched as the vanquishing and the killings were happening. What is happening with the church today? Because we fear the church. Even as politicians, when you go to the village, sometimes we are aggressed by pastors, but we are unable sometimes to even answer them. Sometimes even a reverend, a pastor, a bishop can say certain things that the congregation is not agreeing with. And because you're inside the church, you keep quiet, you talk when you're out of the church. Now we are not only doing or imagining that being done, it is tear gassing this time, another time with impunity. What is happening? And I want to ask, where is Mungiki? The last time I found Maina Jenga was working with Ruto. And the last time I found he was disrupting Pastor Dokas regarding his meeting in Nyeri. I want to say today that we feel and we think and we suspect and we believe that the attacks on the church is a perpetration to prepare Kenyans to accept the impunity of the state, so that we are not only being raided from our homes, like the Gen Zs who are being drawn from their apartment and from their college rooms, that if 2027 comes, the state shall unleash untold atrocity, and we shall not hide in the church.
Do you think this is going to happen in 2027?
I'm telling you, if things are going the way they are going, the atrocity by the state against the church, their alliance with the infamous Mugiki that terrorized our people everywhere, did uncultural things, did criminal things. There is an alliance that is happening. These goons you are fighting in Kariobangi and other places, actually an alliance between Ruto and the criminal gangs, and I want to dare say most of them from my community, the Agego people. But we are saying it's the duty and obligation is on us, politicians, to come out, speak boldly, tell Ruto stop, and also admonish our neighbors, our brothers, and our sisters who are practicing the politics of chicanery, who are being puppeteered to do certain things because of gluttony. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that the greatest tragedy in Kenya today is gluttony of individuals. Even the richest. I know people who, because of certain things, are not even talking to their relatives or not talking to their friends, and they are the owners of capital in this city because they are in bed, and they are being appointed in certain organizations, in banks, in insurance companies, even in hospitals that are owned by the state, which are being used as conduit for the SHA money and for the so-called affordable housing money.
These are serious things.
I'm saying them because I'm saying these things, we have to start that conversation now and start saying these things as they are said. That I want to say, shame on you, you who has money, millionaire, billionaire, you wait money during Kibaki time, during Uhuru time, you thrived, and now you are with the Ruto administration and assisting in the looting of this country. It is all vanity. If your village mate are not comfortable, and if you cannot park your car in your trading center, and you cannot visit your relatives and leave your car on the roadside, you are not rich. Even if your children are going to schools in Dubai, are going to schools in Australia, in Canada, and you come here to give them the biggest of apartments, if they cannot visit from Karen, their relatives who are living in Umoja, if your children cannot come from Ruda and go to see their grandmother who is living in Buruburu, because on the eastern side of Uhuru Highway, there is crime, there is unsafe surroundings. If your children are gifted 20 million car on their wedding, and when they are graduating, they are gifted even a house, and they cannot walk from Serena Hotel to Uhuru Park to enjoy the serenity of the park within the Nairobi, capital of Kenya. Even if you make so much money from that Ruto looting spree, and you think you are, ring-fencing your life with so much affluence, is all vanity if you cannot take an Uber, go to the only national park within a city in the whole world, Nairobi National Park, and walk around there from the Cine Park of museums at Museum Hill to Giraffe Center to National Park. Inside there, you mingle with the other people. If even in your private road race with your family, you have to carry bodyguards and you have to have guns, one with yourself, the other one hidden in the car, you are just the poorest in the world. And it is the vanity of vanities.
Kabando, you speak.
So the message that I was giving, it may appear like, sometimes you can even be limited. I'm saying what is happening if people, I don't belong to a school of thought, and I disagree even with my seniors who are saying, go eat Ruto money, then do the right thing. Yeah. We refuse to eat Moi money. That's how we live like that. Supposing Wangari Maathai agreed to eat Moi money, we will not be having Uhuru Park today. We will not be having Karura Forest today. Do you remember those young Luo men swimming on the pool of KICC in Kibaki took over, singing Marietu, Marietu, until Raphael Tuju, the Minister for Tourism, was compelled to fast-track the repossession of KICC as a national asset? I'm saying, when you tell people, go eat, it's a shameless. Like now, across, I know you know the story of Muranga, where an MP from Muranga was being blamed for giving beans that are not cooking well. It is not just in Muranga. Beans and rice. And I'm telling you, supposing today, somebody decided to poison a whole community, you just go spray those beans and that rice with the chemicals. What's the difference between that and the European companies that are supplying Africa with the pesticides that are making our soils and our plants poisonous and escalating the cancer scourge in Africa? So it's good that people start speaking, and those who are speaking, they should amplify, and we should say those things that have not been said. We should stop being diplomatic. Ruto is calling us our jinga. He is calling us names. We are telling him, go build Kiaba Church. Why are you fighting the PCA Church? You are fighting the Kikuyus and the Mbus and Merus, because that is where 99% of the PCA Church is. And then these people are captured on camera. But not a single one is arrested. They are captured on TV running these goods. None of them is being arrested. Then we have excuses from National Intelligence Service and the stupid statement by the National Police Service. When people lose confidence in the police service completely. Remember when we took over Rainbow Coalition in 2002? Do you remember public arresting policemen for taking traffic bribes? Of course, we failed after that to maintain the momentum. But now, I've said what I've said. And if you give me an opportunity another day, I'll add the volume.
There you go. It's as it is.
Yeah.
And there's little that can be added to that, Kabando, because this is where we are. This is the situation of things on the ground. And we often ask, what must we do next? And perhaps what we do next is speak up.
Yes.
As you've said, speak up.
Yes, and then blame ourselves. Let's not just blame one person Of course, he carries the burden, the backstops as the presidency, but let us also, within our communities, within our congregations, start blaming. Like now, let me just say one last thing. I've seen since I declared that I want to run again for Nyeri Senate, my phone is now getting a lot of heat, and battery is finishing
Quickly.
not just quickly, 1,000% faster than before, because people think that whoever is running for public office is just Harambes. So people have their private budget, they think that whatever and all that. If we have that culture of making sure that we attack ourselves as politicians than just lamenting. So as it is now, if you want to make a difference in the next elections, even opposition must change game.
Absolutely.
Because what was happening in Iberia and Malava, we saw good campaign by the United Opposition in Bere by Rigathi Gachagua, and there in Malava by Natebea, Governor Natebea, and teams. But we have to change game and tell people, even that money you are taking is stolen from you. How do I tell you? Go eat the chicken that have been stolen from your neighbor, and then we shall jail the other person. We have to be ideologically clear and tell our population, our electorate, that whatever Ruto is doing is opposite of what we can offer. And we cannot even have negotiations that are not based on the Constitution, and therefore, even you as the voters must refuse this sort of a thing. Can you imagine an 80-year-old man lining up with a teenager of 15 years and the wife of his son, that is his daughter-in-law, they are pushing each other on lines in the queues because of unga, because of rice, because of 200 shillings. We have to criminalize gluttony, not just at the State House, but even from ourselves and within ourselves.
Indeed.
Yes, so thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you for being here this morning. We look forward to the next one, of course. And even as we wrap up that conversation, here we are having conversations about what you can do to make sure that you stay online, sir.
So when you talk about being online, right? So there is the fear of missing out. And here's a question where, so you are streaming, you're enjoying yourself, but then again, it goes off. So you can't really follow up even with your colleagues when they're having a discussion surrounding something. But here we have Airtel, who have come to tell...
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start